Hello everyone, thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you through this video today. My name's Dennis Fancett and I'm from the Diocese of Newcastle's Generous Giving team. And it's a real pleasure to have this opportunity to talk to you online, exploring the place generosity and generous giving should play in our lives as Christians. Now in the reading we heard earlier from the book of Romans chapter 12, we heard the Apostle Paul in his letter had implored the Christians living in the city of Rome to never be lacking in zeal, but to keep your spiritual fervour serving the Lord. Now, zeal is perhaps a strange word. You might think it's disappearing from common usage. It's got some unfortunate and perhaps negative overtones. We might think of zealot, which could even lead us to words such as terrorist, or we might think of the person that is perhaps a little bigoted, too keen to apply rules that don't really matter, and then to impose those rules on the rest of us. But yet, the word zeal is used as a description of Jesus. When the disciples watched, perhaps in horror at first, as Jesus drove the money changers out of the temple, they recalled the words King David had said in Psalm 69, verse 9, "Zeal for your house consumes me." And they quickly took that phrase and ascribed it to Jesus. And you can read about them doing that in John's Gospel, chapter 2, verse 17. So whatever it is that David had, and whatever it is that Jesus had, Paul implores us to not lack in it either. Instead, he says, keep your fervour in honouring other people above ourselves, sharing with those in need, and practising hospitality. So when it comes to our giving, do we do it with zeal? Are we eager, enthusiastic, energetic, and passionate about what we're doing? Do we believe in it? Is it a cause we really care for? Or do we find that we are somewhat lacking in fervour, not that worried one way or the other, happy to let the status quo continue unchallenged? You see, if we give to our local parish church or benefice because we think we must, or out of a sense of duty or obligation, welcome though your donation is, and it is welcome, we are perhaps missing the point of this passage, which encourages us to do it with zeal and fervour. In other words, let's believe in what we're doing. Let's give with enthusiasm and passion, and do it with a real commitment to see change as a result of our gift, whether that be a complete turnaround in our local parish finances, something that enables our church to start a new area of mission and outreach. And there are plenty of examples in this passage from Romans about things we could do, sharing with people in need, practicing hospitality, feeding the hungry. Many of our churches, I know, are already active in projects such as food banks, warm spaces, baby clothes banks, projects for homeless people, refugees, people escaping from abuse or domestic violence, vulnerable people, elderly people. The list goes on. I'm constantly amazed to discover how much exciting stuff is going on across our diocese. Whatever it is your parish is involved in, or indeed might want to start, it needs our financial support to keep it going and to expand. And also, of course, I suggest that we should be giving enthusiastically to allow our parish to make our contribution to the diocese, playing our part in allowing us to retain, if not increase, the number of stipendiary clergy, thereby helping the mission and ministry of our Anglican community to flourish and expand across the whole region. You see, when Jesus kicked the money changers out of the temple, it wasn't because he just had a bit of spare time on his hands and he couldn't think of anything else to do. He did it because he was deeply offended by what he saw. And he was passionate about putting it right. And he wanted to see lasting change that would reconnect people to God, change that would revert the temple into a place where people could connect with God. Zeal for his Father's house consumed him. And likewise, maybe we too need to be just a bit offended if our parish church or benefice doesn't have the finance to grow and expand our ministry to the community around us. We need to be gripped by the vision of what we want our church to be. And we need to be willing to take action, drastic action sometimes, in order to allow it to be just that. But you might be thinking, well, this is all very well. I really do want to give. I want to give passionately. I believe in all these things you've said. I want to be enthusiastic. I want to be full of zeal. It's just, well, I haven't got any money. How can I give? We're in a cost of living crisis. How can I respond in times like this? And the short answer, of course, is I don't know. It's something each of us have to work out individually and privately between ourselves and God. No one should be telling you, least of all someone from the church, how much to give. One or two people may well need to cut back. Others may realise that actually it's a time to step up and increase our giving. But whatever your position, resolve in your heart, genuinely, humbly, and before God, how much is right for you, and then give that cheerfully with zeal and passion. But it may be worth pausing for a minute and going back to Psalm 69, the psalm I mentioned right at the beginning, which the disciples had recalled when they saw the actions of Jesus. Because that psalm starts with these words: "Save me, O God, for the waters have come up to my neck. I sink in miry depths where there is no foothold. I've come into deep waters. The floods engulf me. I'm worn out, calling for help. My throat is parched. My eyes foul, looking for my God." Now, this is David writing in a crisis. It may not be a financial crisis. Perhaps it's a military one. He is about to be overrun by his enemies. Or maybe it's an emotional one, the depth of betrayal he feels about being let down and turned on by close family members. All of that follows in the next couple of verses. But it's during a crisis, when times are tough, that David's thoughts turn to God. And these words, "Zeal for your house consumes me," just come tumbling out of him. David's crisis did not excuse him from turning to God with passion and commitment. Rather, it seemed to strengthen his resolve. It was at a time, a difficult time, that made him face up to what for him were the really important things in life. And for him, the answer was, it's the house of God. So in the same way, let me encourage each of us to spend a few minutes, or perhaps even a few days, re-evaluating what we consider to be the important things in our lives. It could well be the case that, just like David, we are in a bit of a crisis right now. But let's take that as an opportunity to prioritise and to say to ourselves, God and his house will come first. In the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 9, St. Paul writes, "The Lord loves a cheerful giver." But why would someone be cheerful when they're giving away their money? Surely they'd only be cheerful if they really believe in the cause they are giving to, and if they want that cause to have their money more than they want to keep it. And I do hope that's how all of us, me included, feel about our local church. It's not so much a question of how much or how little we give. Only you and God really know your own financial circumstances. It's more to do with whether we're giving as an expression of our faith and as an expression of our commitment to our local church and as an expression of our ownership of its vision, whatever that may be. But when we do find these building blocks are in place, then we are genuinely giving because we recognise first and foremost that God has given so much to us. And we are giving because we love our local parish church. Not so much the building, but its life and its ministry. Then that changes the dynamic. We give because we want to, and we give with cheerfulness, joy, and thanksgiving. So let our zeal or passion for the house of God, the church, consume us too, and let that be reflected in our giving, our volunteering, and our commitment to all aspects of church life. Thank you so much for listening to me today. God bless you. Amen.